Hello and welcome back. We are once again continuing off with painting our Cadian infantry squad here. I think today we're going to kind of focus on this plasma gunner. I really want to do some kind of cool effects with the gun itself, and I'm kind of bored of just doing the same color schemes, so I figure we'll mix it up a little bit. We are going to be going in with a first base coat of Castellan green. We're going to do kind of the majority of this weapon with it, and then we're going to do some detailing with our silver just to kind of finish it off. And then I think I want to do kind of like a like he just fired it kind of effect. Normally I do them like they're fully charged. I do the coils nice and blue with a little bit of like dry brushing and some lighter blues and some whites mixed in just to kind of give it some variation, make it look like it's glowing a bit. But I think this time I want it kind of looking more kind of silverish on the coils, like they're depleted, right? Like they're freshly fired. And then I think the muzzle itself I want kind of glowing. I've got a couple of different colors that I'm gonna try to get that effect with. I've never done it before, so it might turn out horribly, but we are definitely gonna give it a shot and kind of see how it comes out. And as always, we want to make sure we get into all these little cracks and crevices here. I think the entire top portion, basically, we're going to do this Castellan green. Just make it match up nice and neat with our flak armor. And then all of that bottom portion, that kind of like hand guard, whatever you want to call it, we'll do with our silver. As well as the muzzle itself. And then, of course, the coils, we will go with a more silver, maybe even a more kind of like brass color. If it ends up looking too samey, I just want it looking like it's fully depleted, like there's no plasma left in it, basically. And that's kind of, however we get to that effect is kind of the goal. And make sure you really get deep down into these cracks. It helps if you have kind of runnier paint, if you mix in a little bit more water. Unfortunately, I keep having to refill my palette here because I don't want to use too much green on such a small portion. But it does let us kind of go back over it very quickly because my paint's drying very quick. And make sure we get that nice second coat in. It takes care of that kind of lack of a underlayer as it was. Unfortunately, I try my best to do an undercoat kind of everywhere as much as possible, but sometimes I do miss some spots, and that's why you see kind of the white primer poking out sometimes. And again, we're doing some sort of awkward angles here because we're coming in at kind of the worst possible areas. Unfortunately, they are a little bit hard to reach, but on the plus side, that also means that they are harder to see once we're done. So we really don't have to stress about these little kind of hidden spots too much. With the shadows, I don't even think you can really see this. On camera, at least, I can barely see it myself. So I just want to make sure that green is nice and fully done before we move on, because I don't want to have to keep swapping back to it. With that being said, though, we are going to move on to our next color here, and I think there's a little bit left in this pot. I can barely hear it while I'm shaking this. Of course, our classic, very basic silver color, lead belcher. My personal favorite. I think I use this on literally every single model I do. It is just very versatile, and we're going to be using this for all of the kind of remaining parts, this full underside here, the handguard itself, as well as kind of the back of the gun a little bit. We might do the, I know, weird angles, I'm sorry. It's just, I'm trying to get this as well as I can while also keeping it on camera. I think the, the handle itself, we might do the like brown, like dryad bark, just to keep it nice and kind of wooden themed like our las guns are. But everything else basically is going to be this nice silver. And of course we also want to get this front nozzle, muzzle, kind of whatever you want to call it, as well as we can. We do want to keep things kind of nice and neat so we don't have to go back over with that green as well. One thing that does kind of throw me off about plasma guns is every time I'm reading a novel that has like meltaguns or hellblasters, I always think of this design. I don't know why. These don't look like plasma guns to me, the muzzles at least. They look more like what a meltagun should look like. And I feel like a plasma gun should look like this, but wider, like double the width, right? I feel like they're much more powerful, and their size should match that. But what do I know? I'm not the engineer behind these things. I do like them though. I do like the design. I think they're kind of simplistic, but also very menacing in a way. Very very good sci-fi weapon design. Of course, from uh, the franchise that gave us the classic bolter, I expect every weapon to look perfect, and this is one of them. And real quick, we just want to make sure we get the underside of this as well. Leave no stone unturned as it was, so that we don't have to fix things up later. And with this being said, if this looks terrible, which I'm hoping it won't, I might just go back over it in the future, but I think I'll leave it stand for this series, just because I don't want to waste too much time on it. Of course, I want it to look good, but it's probably going to require me stripping it if it doesn't look the way I want, and then going and trying something else. So we'll leave it where it is, but if I like it or not, I'll kind of let you know. I'm not going to tell you it looks good when it doesn't. But of course, everyone's opinion is different. That being said, though, we are going to do these top coils. And again, I do want them kind of looking like they're depleted, like he's just fired, maybe he's out of ammo. So instead of how I normally would with doing some nice blue color up here for the plasma itself, we're just going to do some silver to indicate kind of dead coils. And you can do this whatever color you want. I normally do my plasma with blue, of course, so maybe if you want it looking more thematic, you could do this red to indicate that it's empty or he needs to reload or something. But I feel like that'll kind of take away from the effect that I want to do on the muzzle. So I'm going to leave this as is. And of course, we can always change it if we end up not liking it. But I think for now, we're just going to try this. And it's looking pretty decent so far. Clean, at least, we'll say that. All right? Whether it turns out great or not, I can't promise you, but we'll try. So this is where it gets a little sketchy. And I've got a couple of options I'm kind of still debating with. I have two different reds. Now I have, one of them is Mephiston, which you can see here. I don't know how well you're going to be able to see the differences, but I also have Corn. Originally I was going to do Corn, but I think it's a little bit too dark for what I want. I want it more like it's kind of like, just fired. Like the barrel itself is still very hot. Oh, if I don't drop things. My bad. I just want to give this a nice good shake. I haven't used this in a while. And of course, cracking this open, I think we are going to go with the Mephiston. We're at least going to try it first. If it's terrible, we'll figure it out. We'll kind of go from there. But I want to get this kind of nice and diluted first, because if you can see these little, I don't know what you're going to call them, like the grill looking section there, I want it kind of going right into those recesses, and I don't want it overflowing too much. Oop, as I messed that up horribly. Except that I kind of do just around the edges. So maybe that worked out for me just a bit. I just wanted more of a kind of controlled overflow, I guess is what I was trying to say, as I did it. But that's fine. And we'll do the exact same thing on the other side. We'll kind of bring this around and over the top And this is going to be kind of step one. There's a couple of different colors I have. And I don't want this going all the way back on the muzzle. I think that'd look kind of weird if it did. But I do want it kind of taking up the majority of the front here as I refill my brush a little bit, just to make sure that those recesses get nice and filled. And we'll kind of see what this looks like when it dries, to see whether we want to keep with it or not. Again, maybe it'll look terrible and I want to fully restart. We'll see, but I'm hoping for the best here. And do one quick little once over just as this is dried now. I wish this would stay in focus, that'd be nice. I'm working so close up, I think it's just having trouble deciding what it wants to focus on. But I also want to do the front of this. And with this being said, you want to do this, at least in my opinion, in order of kind of darkest to brightest. That's kind of how temperatures work with color, if you didn't know that. So we're going to start with our red and make sure we get our brush cleaned off a little bit here. And then the next color I have is also one that I'm not too sure about. Again, doing this for the first time. But it is Troll Slayer Orange. It is the only orange I have, so it's going to have to work. And there we go. This one didn't want to open, unfortunately. This is a layer paint, so it's a little bit thinner, so I don't want as much water on my brush. And go ahead and get this on our palette. It is very, very thin, I can already tell, but we will start. I want to just kind of apply this more kind of closer to the edge here. And if we need to, whoa, maybe if I move that out of focus, it'll stay on track a little bit better. And just do kind of the tip here of the muzzle. Maybe about halfway as much as you did with the red. And we'll kind of see what it looks like from there. Maybe we'll go a little bit further back, maybe not, I don't know. But I do want to do the entire muzzle as well, the front of it at least. Go a little bit further back. All right, it's not perfect, but it's getting there. I think maybe we want to fill in those recesses a little bit more, because that'd be kind of where it's hotter, right? Instead of on the actual like outside itself. Maybe. We'll kind of see. And then moving on, see if we can push this boundary a little bit further. Trust the process, right? We're going to do that. We are going to give a attempt to some Averland Sunset. It's another paint I've actually never used before. This is a fresh paint pot, so we'll see if it wants to open for us. Oh, maybe. There we go. The trouble is I'm trying to open it without just ripping the lid off. I've done that quite a few times, unfortunately. One of the cons of GW paint pots, unfortunately. And getting just a little bit on our brush. Maybe a little bit more, because that's like extra thin. I hear yellow is not fun to paint. I've only ever done yellow contrast, so I am inclined to believe that. And as this dries, I'm actually starting to like it a little bit more. So I think we'll keep going here. And I just want to kind of do the last like fourth of this maybe. And maybe this is going to be a little bit much. I'm kind of debating it as I apply it, so that's good. You want to do kind of the full tip though, because that's the way that temperature works. And you can see we actually had so much on our brush that it came around to the other side without us even having to do it manually, so it works out. And I know this is like a lot of paint for just such a small little project, but honestly, it's something that I kind of want to try and make look really special. I think it'll be kind of a nice little centerpiece for our squad. So I think using one last color as I knock all my other little guys over. We're going to try some Corax White. I don't know if this is quite going to be bright enough for what I want. Corax White isn't like, I'd prefer like titanium white, like something like really pure. But this is kind of the only white I really have on hand that isn't like off-white. So we'll try it. We'll pop it open here and get just a little bit on our palette. We don't need a ton of it. And as we kind of let that yellow dry a little bit, I think we're just going to do like the absolute tip, right? We don't want it on the sides at all. I feel like we have a nice kind of bleed effect there already. And even maybe with that yellow, we did a little bit too much. I'm kind of seeing not too much of the orange, except for in the recesses. But I think just a little bit of white, maybe just kind of mixed in. And maybe it's good that we're doing this while it's still wet. It does kind of mix it up for us a little. And just kind of let it naturally blend in there. And we'll let that dry a little bit. Maybe we'll do one more pass in just a minute. But while we have our white here, I do want to go over the face a little bit just to kind of brighten it up. That way when we do get around to doing the skin on the face, we'll have a nice base coat. I think the other face I did, I was using Wraithbone. You can do either one as a kind of undercoat. Either way, it doesn't matter. You're going to need to do multiple layers if you got any black on it whatsoever, because you have to lighten it all back up, and it's a very tedious process. You know what, maybe we'll even do the goggles too. I kind of want to do kind of a fun little effect with those once we get around to it. Maybe we'll do that next episode. And there we are. That nozzle is, I think, finally dry. So we'll do just one quick little pass over with our white here. Nothing too crazy. And I think that's given a pretty good effect. Just want to get the underside a little bit. And there we are. It's not perfect. Like there's definitely some more kind of blending I could do. But honestly, without ruining the whole thing, I think that's pretty decent. There's a little bit of cleanup I want to do with the green and silver there, but overall I think that's pretty nice. We'll kind of leave that alone. I'll close up all of my paints we've used here, and we have a few minutes left, so I'm going to go ahead and do some of the other kind of small details that we still need to get anyway. I did just kind of want to knock that out while we had the opportunity, just because it kind of breaks up the monotony a little bit, and I think it's a lot of fun to kind of, change things up a little. So going back to our dryad bark, this is what we've been using for our leather on, I think, like the last 3 episodes. Again, why we needed to break things up a little bit. And we're going to start with our boots here. We're just going to do a very, very kind of quick job of this little leather. I don't know what you call it. It's kind of like riding boots almost is what it looks like stirrups, the way that these are. Obviously they're not. They're like trooper boots, but I don't know what the technical military term for this is. And I can't really see the underside, but we'll still run our brush under there a little bit. And of course we want to get the inside as well as we can see it. Oh, I think I hit the gun there. Hopefully not. I can't really see it, so I'm not going to worry about it. I would have hated if I just ruined the muzzle we worked on so hard there. But I think we managed to miss it. The problem is my phone isn't charged very high, and I use it for recording. So I have my brightness down to kind of save my battery, and I'm not able to see what's really happening on camera. Obviously I can see what's happening right in front of me as I'm painting. I just can't tell how well it's showing up for you guys, which is not great. But I did just want to kind of knock this out really quick. I had hot minute to do a video, so I figured I would, and I very much enjoyed it. We had a little bit of progress there. Maybe with like a wash or something over that, it'll kind of blend a little bit better. But overall, for like a first try, I think that's pretty decent. I'm liking it. Honestly, I'm kind of liking it. Of course, next time we come back, we'll finish up. We have our full squad to do. I might do like a Space Marine paint job in between. I don't know. It just kind of depends on what I'm feeling on doing. But I think for now, that's pretty decent. Excuse me. As always, if you'd enjoyed this, feel free to leave a comment, like, subscribe, the whole 9 yards. I really love your guys' feedback. I wish all of you guys would leave it. No feedback is bad feedback in my eyes. So literally anything, throw it at me. Whether you want to see certain things, or whether you want me to do things differently, or whether you just like or dislike what I do, please let me know. Also, I'd like to point out I have a Patreon. If you want to support this channel, that's a great way to do it. Everything that goes into that goes right back into making videos. So whether it's new models, new paints, whatever, it helps me do that. Other than that, I just want to thank you guys very much for watching, and hopefully I'll see you in the next episode.